Ready?
I am your hair transplant surgeon, Dr. Rohit Nair. Before I tell you about hair transplant, let me introduce myself. I am a plastic surgeon and have been in active practice now for the last 17 years. I am the head of the department of Batra Hospital and have my own clinic in GK Park 2. I have been doing hair transplant for the last many years now, and I take great pride in saying that in Delhi, I am doing perhaps one of the largest number of transplants. So first of all, what is a hair transplant? In hair transplant, the principle is that we take the hair from the back of the head and put them into the bald or balding areas. The theory behind this is that the hair at the back of the head, that is the occipital scalp, they never shed off. If you look at a bald person, you will find that he may be bald from front and from top, but behind he will always have hair. So the hair which is taken from the back and put in front behaves, the life cycle remains like the hair at the back. So transplanted hair are permanent hair, they do not shed off. There are two ways in which we can take the hair from the back of the scalp. We have the strip technique known as the FUT, follicular unit transplant, or else the FUE, in which we remove it follicle by follicle. Please remember, in the FUE, one has to go bald at the back. They are both simply different methods of extraction of follicles. The results and the hair transplant procedure is the same for both. Once we have removed the hair follicles from the back of the head, we then transplant them in the front into the bald or the balding areas. At one single stage, you can transplant anywhere between 2000 to 3000 follicular units. And on a rough guide, you can multiply this by 2.5 or 3 to get the total number of hair. An example is, if I am transplanting 1000 follicular units, I will transplant about 2500 to 3000 hair. Once the transplant is done, the transplanted hair, the hair shafts normally shed off and the roots take, and the new hair starts sprouting after about 4 to 8 weeks. It then grows like any normal hair at the rate of half to 1 centimeter a month. And for results to be seen after transplant, you have to patiently wait for 6 months to 1 year. It's not that you put hair today and you can see the result tomorrow. In fact, after 4 to 8 weeks, the shafts, like I said, fall off and then the roots will sprout new hair. The procedure is done under local anesthesia. You are fully conscious throughout the procedure, and for a full transplant it takes about 6 to 8 hours. I have a team of 5 to 6 people, which includes a doctor and 4 to 5 paramedical staff. You can walk out of the clinic, you can drive back, you can go have your normal meals after that. Normally I do not put a bandage, but sometimes I may put a bandage for the same night, the next morning we remove the bandage. It's a very safe procedure. There are almost minimal side effects. But just to enumerate a few side effects, you could have a little bit of numbness at the back of the scalp, which would last for a few weeks or days. You could have some swelling which appears around the eyes, which comes on the third or the fourth day, lasts for a day or two. Normally does not come. I don't even in fact call it a side effect. If it comes on the third day, goes away on the fourth or the fifth day on its own. A little bit of cyst, some itchiness or scratchiness, otherwise there are no major side effects to the hair transplant. Anyways, before we do a transplant, we put you through a battery of tests so as to decide your fitness for the hair transplant procedure. Please remember, if you are totally bald, when I say totally bald means grade 7. What this means is if you are bald in front, on top and behind, and you have only hair on the occipital scalp, you are well advised to have another transplant procedure after a year or two. You can always repeat a transplant. Now, is there any scars at the recipient side? Where you do a transplant, there are no scars at all. These hair are natural hair, you can cut them, you can comb them, they grow like normal hair. In fact, you cannot make out the difference between a transplanted hair and any pre-existing hair, if at all they were. Is age a bar? Age is not a bar for transplant, but normally I don't like to do a transplant before a patient is 20 to 24 years old. So although there is no hard and fast rule regarding a transplant. The upper limit. I have done transplants on patients as long as 65. all that is, it should be a good 65. What I mean by good 65 is there should be no comorbidities. You're a diabetic, you're a high hypertensive, then obviously the results of transplant are not so good. Anything else you want to know on a transplant, you're welcome to come and visit me once, you're welcome to ask my staff. I have a website by the name of www.transplanthair.in. I repeat, www.transplanthair.in. This website will give you a lot of answers to your queries which you were thinking of. A lot of frequently asked questions are answered in that. You also get to see a little bit of the procedure. I put in small little videos in that. And anything else you want to ask, you're more than welcome to visit me and please clarify your doubts. Thank you so much. Kapil, aage bhai. चल अब तो बैठ जा बाहर, उसको डाल